One. Hello, everyone. Thank you guys for signing in today and being part of our Sounds Academy Summer Series. So today we have a very special panel for you guys today. We're going to be talking about being an artistic entrepreneur. So first I'm going to start off by introducing some of the people that we have here for you guys today. We're going to have good discussion. So as usual, if you have any questions, you could put them in the Q&A, or you can also put them in the chat, and I'll make sure to ask our panelists your questions. So Dominque, as someone with a strong dedication to diversity in music, Dominque uses his role as Driftwood Quintet's executive director to prove that chamber music can be an efficient medium, not only for entertainment, but for community enrichment and social discussion as well. Through his arrangements, he has sought to highlight the works of various composers of the African diaspora, as well other underrepresented groups in the classical music canon. So outside of Driftwood, Dominque has performed as a principal clarinetist of the AZ Pro Musica Chorale and Orchestra, and bass clarinetist of the Tempe Symphonic Winds. So can I get 2 claps for Dominque, and can you say hello, Dominque?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk. Should be fun.
All right. So our next panelist, Dorrell, he's a photographer and videographer based out of Chandler. So you guys should recognize him since he does all of the pictures and videos for Sounds Academy. He's the founder of Always Timeless Productions. And he never thought that photography or videography would become such a passion of his. His portfolio includes a variety of experiences in lifestyle, portrait, sports fitness, real estate, and events. His works include music videos for Graham Thomas, Nick West, and Brenda Quadai. He loves serving and capturing priceless expressions behind the lens of his camera. And then also, for those of you that don't know, he's also an artist, a performing artist as well. So hopefully he'll dive into that a little bit today and tell you guys how we got into that. So can you guys get 2 claps for Dorrell? Can you say hello, Dorrell?
What's going on, people?
And last but not least, we have Miss Stephanie Matthews, who is a modern-day citizen, artist championing artistic excellence and social consciousness. She's the co-founder of the Recollective Orchestra, an all-Black orchestra dedicated to raising the visibility and profile of Black musicians and to present culturally relevant work to engage diverse audiences. An avid arts advocate, Ms. Matthews was the former director of artistic development for the Sphinx organization, cultivating the careers of some of the nation's top Black and Latino artists through professional development initiatives. She has served as the assistant dean in violin faculty with the Sphinx Performance Academy and served as artist in residence at the National Academy of Performing Arts in Trinidad and Tobago. Some of her accolades includes her work with Hans Zimmer, The Lion King, and the Grammys. So can I get 2 claps for Miss Stephanie Matthews? Can you say hello, Stephanie?
Hi, guys. I've known Mr. Johnson a long time. We went to school together.
Oh yeah, back in the day. So we're gonna jump right into it, and whoever can answer this one first, tell us more about your business and how you got into it.
Who do you want to start with?
Anyone can start first. So whoever is ready to go can start.
Okay, I'll start. So I'm a violinist. I, went to music school and all of that. I do not have a business degree, so let me start there. I started my company String Candy pretty much out of necessity. So I was teaching professionally for a very long time in New York City public schools. I did an artist residency outside of the country in Trinidad. And in between those times, I started getting called by different music directors and friends of mine who wanted strings. They wanted strings for, different late night TV shows. Sometimes it was like Saturday Night Live, or maybe just like a live performance at, like a venue in New York or something like that. And so what ended up being like kind of like little piecemeal efforts to like, oh, let me get my friends and let me call my friends for this and let me call my friends for this, started becoming such a repetitive ask. And I did my first really big tour after I graduated from grad school. So that was when I think more people really started to like reach out to me. And I was like, okay, why don't I just maybe start a company and see what happens? Again, I didn't have a business degree. So it's not that I started my company because, you know, I had this dream and vision of starting a business. It just seemed like, you know, I was tired of waiting for people to call me for work. And I was doing a lot of the calling for work. So I came up with a name, and it just kind of started taking on a life of its own. So I started my company back in 2012 when I was living in Los Angeles. And I book musicians. They're primarily string players, but I've booked full orchestra, background singers, band instruments like guitar, etc. For lots of different shows, touring, and things like that.
Oh, excellent. How about you, Dominic? So tell us
Yeah,
more
so
how you got into it.
so me, it's kind of similar start. I play mainly bass clarinet, but I went to school for clarinet performance. I got started because about my second year of college, I went to ASU. Discovered that I love playing bass clarinet, and it's kind of seen as an auxiliary instrument. It's like a secondary instrument, but I loved playing it, and I wanted to find an outlet where I could make a living playing that. And that's when I discovered chamber music. I thought, oh, cool, I can make my own group around the music that I like to do. And from that, it's kind of where everything went from there. My group, the Driftwood Quintet, we started just a couple friends. I did bass clarinet. I said, hey, what ensemble can I play in that features bass clarinet? And that's when I started using the Reed Quintet, which is bass clarinet, saxophone, oboe, bassoon, and regular clarinet. And we used that format to kind of just arrange music that we wanted to play and start performing that way. And over the years, we have found our niche in the nonprofit sector. So we do a lot of our funding through grant writing, things like that. And we work a lot with different communities in the area to provide programming that they feel a need for. We have lots of I have lots of dialogue with the companies with the arts organizations we work with to say, hey, what is not happening in your community and how can we help bring that to you? So I think a big hallmark of what Driftwood has done and why we've been as successful as we have been is that we don't go out there and tell people what they're going to have. We really work hard to collaborate and say, hey, what do you need and how can we help you do that? So that's kind of where we're at now. And now, like similar to Stephanie, I started our business unofficially in 2013, and then we officially became a business in 2015. And then right now, making the transition to become a 501c nonprofit as well. So it's been a journey upwards. It's been really good. So.
Oh, excellent. Now, how about you, Dorrell?
So, sorry about that. I started back in college. I was a music artist full-time back in college, and I was traveling around a little bit. Once we started to go to record labels, and I was actually in a rap group at the time, and we started to get viewed as far as record labels, and we just didn't get the proper, I guess, deals that we wanted as far as structure. And so from there on, we would have problems with studio, and we would have problems with, I guess, like photo ops and video concepts and things like that. So I took the initiative to actually just be like, let me take my little refund check and let's start some stuff. And so I basically, everything that our group needed, I just decided to take my funds and just make it happen. So my concept was, if we start it, we'll find the right people to actually, tag along, and they'll see the vision. Well, over the years, I guess I did it out of necessity, and everybody started asking, like, how much do you charge for photo, video, and things like that? And I was just like, I'm just doing this just for, to help out. From there, I just started working with like my local church back in Virginia. And then from there, it just kind of took off. From there, I ended up coming out to Arizona. With music, I started to start to write songs for labels and companies like that. And like I said, I didn't like my contract, so I ended up coming out here to go to music engineering school just to like solidify myself to have some type of leverage. From there, I was still doing photo video, but it was just a side hustle. I ended up working my my degree. I decided to work my degree or get a job in my degree. And on the side, I was still doing photo and video. I ended up doubling my salary. So I was like, let me just walk away and do this full time. And so from there, you know, I kind of landed. It just kind of took a life of its own. And I just kind of been riding with it for a while. And so that just kind of branched me out to be able to be a creative and, you know, and then with my music portion, I just started to work with kids, a lot of kids where I would go down to Atlanta and I would do music programs down there where I would just basically songwrite. We would shoot music videos and we would actually just help the kids like basically work with each other. You know, like all of the kids that sit in the corner, don't do anything. They look at the other group of the cool kids. We just meshed it all together and made it work together. And I just kind of put that all under one umbrella. So it's just everything that I normally would do in my regular life. I just kind of turned it into my means of finances and just, you know, my way of communication to the world. So.
Excellent. And something that I think I heard all of you is that you saw a need for something and you decided to be that need and like be the fulfiller of the need, I should say. So I think, you know, kudos to you on that part. Let me start with Dominque on this one. And what I'd like to ask you is how easy or how hard was it to develop your business?
I think the hardest part is just starting, you know, like once you get that momentum going, it kind of helps you in that momentum. But like for us as our group, once we decided, hey, once we knew what we wanted to do, it was pretty easy going forward, figuring out how we wanted to do that. It was just a lot of trying to think of the word, deciding to devote the time to figure out the right way to do things. And one thing that I think really helps that and what can cause a lot of people to fall behind is not making sure you're around people with like a similar forward-thinking goal as you are. So I know early on when the group started, we had one or two people that were kind of half 1 foot in, 1 foot out, not really in line with our mission, and they kind of slowed us down. But over the years, we've cultivated a team that are all driven towards a similar goal, and we can all kind of help push each other in the right direction. But yeah.
Excellent.
But I think at the end of the day, though, like we live in a digital age where anything you want to learn how to do, just type it into Google. I didn't have a business degree either. I just said, hey, I want to start a business. One of the first people that were going to hire us said, hey, if you want to get a job, you have to be registered as a business. I said, okay, cool. Let me Google how to start a business. I went to my local state, filled out the paperwork, and it was good. I found out, oh wait, end of the year we gotta do taxes. Let me look up what we need to do for taxes. Let me research, hey, how much are the different tax people in our area? I mean, it's so easy to learn how to do what you don't know that there's not really an excuse to not do it.
Oh, say that again for the people in the back.
Yeah, it's so easy to learn what you don't know that there's no excuse to stop you from getting to where you want to be.
Excellent. How about you, Dorrell?
I think it wasn't, I didn't look at it as a business at first. So talking to a lot of people that I was, asking questions like, I need a mentor, I need something to show me how to structure it right. They used to always tell me like, don't try to form it into a business, like enjoy it first and it'll form into the business that you want. So I think once it became a demand, and like I said, I think I started this company back in 2008. I didn't officially become a company until I walked away from my job, which was about 2012, 13. And from there, I went straight to the bank. And I was just like, I want to start this business. And I had some good buddies at the bank. So they showed me exactly how to set up my accounts, just to make sure that I'm legalized by the state. And it's the same way, just like how Dom said, like, I literally, YouTube University is my life. So whatever I don't know, I mean, Kurt, you are an advocate, you know, like, you know, I'll just be like, yo, call me back in about 20 minutes. I'll figure it out. It's just one of those things where, like, I live for experiences. So what I don't know, I want to learn. And that's what I thrive off of. And that's kind of how my business is. It's just like an ongoing learning process.
Yes. How about you, Stephanie?
Yeah, I mean, I see this a through line here as well. Again, not really having a business background per se, and knowing all the ins and outs of like running a business and filing paperwork and all of that stuff. I mean, I'm sure hearing it as a student is like, I don't even know how to get started. And I was like that too. I was an adult and I was like, I don't know how to get started. So again, like these guys are saying, you know, I searched online. Google.com is amazing at helping you find a lot of information. So I looked at filing, you know, a limited liability corporation paperwork, LLC, or for sole proprietorship. So if you're trying to start a company on your own by yourself, that's probably the easiest first step. When you start looking at becoming a nonprofit like Dominque with, you know, the 501c3, it's a little bit more extensive, but, you know, you pay your fees, depends on the state. Mine was like a couple $100s. And I reached out to a really good friend of mine who was a graphic designer, got him to design a logo for a couple $100s, and, you know, got a website. You guys know how to go online and get a website, you know. For me, it was just really a matter of making sure I had a really, really good name. That was something that was really important to me. I wanted a .com. And so I like really did internet research. I went and looked on like the trademark.gov, you know, to see if there were any pending trademarks with a similar name that I could run into issues with. I looked and scoured the internet for .coms and stuff like that, because I was like, I want my name.com. So then that's when I started like hashing out what names I thought would work for my company. Because initially, kind of like Dorrell said, I didn't think about what I was doing as a business. It, you know what I mean? It just, and then after doing it for so long, like literally I was doing it already for a few years, that's when I was like, why don't I just monetize it? And the worst case scenario, if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out and you move on and do something else. So that's, I mean, it wasn't very hard. You know, you do a little bit of digging. That's all.
Yeah, and I like that I'm hearing that the learning never stops. And so I know when you're kids, you're in school, I remember being like, when I graduate, I don't have to read anymore. I don't have to take these stupid tests. I'm just going to be done. Then I got to college and I said, when I graduate, I'm going to have to read anymore. I don't have to do these tests. And I swear, I can write 4 dissertations at this point with all the research I've done and all the things I've had to look up and learn. You guys find that to be the same?
Yes, it is. I mean, it's one of those things where like, you think you're the smartest person in the world once you get into your line of work, but it's just like as soon as somebody asks you to do something that you haven't done, it's like, you know what, I got to go back to school. So it's ongoing.
I think for me, I always try to make sure I'm not the smartest person in the room. I try to make sure I surround myself with people that know more than I do. So like I'm always being uplifted. I'm always learning and having to push myself to the next level just to not look stupid or not feel left behind. And I think it goes, it's like whenever you're going to like a business meeting, or if you're going to meet your tax guy, or you're going to have a meeting with like a lawyer for legal counsel for starting a business, it's important that you do your due diligence beforehand, so you kind of have an idea, like somewhat, of what you want and what you expect to happen, and kind of some of the verbiage they might be using. So if I know I'm going to go into a discussion about forming a nonprofit, I should know what a 501c3 is before I go into that meeting, because that's so easy to Google and search. I mean, I think that saves you a lot of time and saves your money, because like none of these people work for free, you know? So like the more you know going into it, the more you can better utilize your resources.
Yes.
I would definitely say like having a really good team of people around you. It's not about being around people that you love to hang and kick it with. Like that sounds fun, but when you're running a business, that can become a real distraction, and it can also, in some cases, keep you from moving forward. So kind of like what Dominque is saying, so like making sure that you're surrounded with people that are really smart, people who know more than you, people who like have expertise in different, like in a different area than you do. So for instance, if I know I'm not a graphic designer, please do not ask me to design anything regarding to a website, some like fly t-shirts. I'm not the one. You will be looking very busted. So, you know, I identify somebody who is really great with graphic design, someone who has a really, really great eye for design. Also, like if I know I'm not really great with like numbers, or I'm not really, really great with money, like finding somebody and like making sure that I seek out somebody to be on my team who understands how to land grants, someone who understands money, someone who understands like contracts and business standard and union wages and scales. Let me tell you, there is a lot to learn. I'm constantly learning. Like as much as I know in the time that I've been doing this, there's a lot I don't know. And I think having that, coming to the table with the understanding that there is always going to be something that you don't know, is going to keep you like persistent in your learning.
Yes. And then we have a direct question for you, Miss Stephanie. You had mentioned monetizing. And so one of our students would like to know, what does monetizing mean?
Monetizing. Okay. So essentially, let's say you have a particular skill set, a gift. Okay. For some of you, that might be playing the violin, viola, cello, double bass. I don't know all the instruments that are represented here, but let's say I'm a violinist, so I'm going to say violin. I play the violin. I love what I do. I've taken lessons, you know, all of this. So what can I do to monetize my playing the violin? Monetize simply means, how can I make money from playing the violin? How can I make money from my skill? If you're really, really good at drawing, how can I make money from my art, from my drawings? If you're great at like doing quick website designs, how can I make money from that? That's simply what it means. How can I make money? How can I generate income from this skill that I have?
Excellent. And then Avery Castillo has a question about, so this is a good question. So it's were you guys friends or connected somehow in the beginning of the business, or was it by chance? And so I'll answer that one to say, so these are individuals that I respect a lot. Yes, we're friends, but I love what they do. And I tell, if you are in my classes, if you're in my lessons, if you come to the master classes, I often tell stories about, if you do this, then you'll be able to do this like this person. And so what I love about these workshops and these webinars is all these like this persons are now on the screen with me, and you guys can get to do it. So I remember once I ran into Stephanie at NAM in California, and we were talking about being late. And we were saying that you cannot be late for any lessons, you cannot be late for any classes. And she was saying to me, it's important that you get your students to understand not being late, because if I hire you to play for Beyonce, you cannot be late. I cannot explain to Beyonce why you were late, and she doesn't care. As nice as she is, she doesn't. There are 15 other violinists, there are 15 other pianists, there's 15 other whoever that will not be late and will not come up with any excuses. So now when I tell that story to you guys, and you're like, who's Stephanie? Now you guys can see her now. So this is who it is. And I was, Dorrell, I think I met Dorrell at a gig. I think I was performing and you were doing pictures, right?
I believe so.
And then we started talking. He asked me, what do I do? And I said, I'm trying to start this music program. And then he shot our first video and has shot every video ever since. And then Dorrell is popular to the point of I book him a year out. So, and that's serious. Like he's so good at what he does, and he's learned how to be professional with it. He does a lot of weddings, music videos, things like that of that nature. And he does his own personal professional career as well. And these are busy people, so you have to be organized. And I met Dominque through Local First, was it?
It was actually a recommendation from another person I met, because I tried to go out in the community a lot and go to different events, as many events as I can. And I went to the Phoenix Art Museum. I think they had some discussion or something. And I went there. It was kind of a useless. That meeting was not very useful. But through that meeting, I met someone who introduced me to you, and I think our relationship.
Was it Thomas?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
So I remember, I think I had met him there, and then he said, "You know what? You should meet Kirk." And then so, but yeah, so that's how.
Cool ever since. And like Stephanie went to college with each other, and we played in chamber music groups, and she was always about business, and she was always about we're gonna have fun playing music, right? But do not come late to Stephanie's rehearsal. Like that's just the standard. So when I tell you guys the same things, it's Stephanie's fault. So she instilled these values in me, and now here we are. So thank you for that question. So now what I'm going to do, I had another question for you guys. Oh, is my computer frozen? No, I'm back. All right. The question that I'm going to ask is, so think about lessons in the practice room. So lessons in the studio, lessons in the practice room. How did those lessons help you in developing your business? And let's start with Dorrell with that one.
Lessons in the studio. Well, I would say, for one thing, I always never undermine a person that's on this level. Like, it doesn't matter what field or how you got here, the level of respect is always going to be at that level, so the lessons that I learned from just being in that atmosphere is just one of those things where you took back to yourself to I don't know, I just look at people in general, because I guess this industry and this line of work, it's always so quick, so fast. So you learn in business overall is just to basically be mindful of your time, be mindful of everything that you do with the person or whoever it is that you're kind of involved with. And when you're in those environments, man, I just think professional. I think this is my only shot. This is my biggest chance to be able to set the mark, the tone. How do I want to be remembered? And do I want to keep this relationship available for me, so that I can be consistent with this person? My biggest thing is always about relationships. Everything that I do in my business has been about relationships. And I think whenever I'm in those type of environments, I'm looking at relationships. And that's what I always took back to my businesses. Relationships is always vital over everything. So.
Excellent. How about you, Stephanie?
How did my lessons impact my business? Like my lessons in the practice room? Was that the question?
Some of the things you learned. So I learned this in the practice room, and it translated into my business.
So when you're in a practice room, you can spend lots of hours in isolation, right? So for me, I remember distinctly when I was at Indiana University with Kirk, actually, and I was preparing for my graduate school auditions, there was a lot of music to prepare, and it seemed very, very overwhelming. So one thing that I learned is not to bite off more than you can chew at one time, because you can really easily overwhelm yourself with information. You can overwhelm yourself by trying to tackle too much at one time. I found that really focusing my energy on something very specific, a specific task, In music, it could be like a specific 8-bar phrase. And I want to focus on this 8-bar phrase that I've been having trouble with and like really just like hash it out. Are my fingerings what I need them to be? What's the tone production? What's the bowing I want to do? That same level of focus in a very kind of like compact idea or, task is what I apply to business. So if it's for me, if I know that I need to handle payroll or have to pay people out, then I have to get really structured about how I'm, lining up like my numbers and spreadsheets and things like that. I don't want to bore you with that. But with business, it's the same thing in that you'll need to really kind of focus your energies and not try to spread yourself too thin, trying to do too many things at one time, because what will end up happening is things will start to fall through the cracks and nothing will get done well.
Good advice. Dominic?
This might sound a little cheesy, but I think just like from a chamber music standpoint, communication is very important, because when you're performing in a chamber ensemble, it's very important that you know who to listen to, you know how you're coming across to other people and what to expect from the people around you. And I think that translates very well to like a business, because when you're going out in different communities, whether it's with like an arts council or whether it's like a private sponsor, private donor, you need to be able to like read social cues. You need to be able to know, like you need to be able to know, like when you are trying to foster a relationship with someone, an ongoing relationship, to know, hey, when I said this, they picked up on that. Let me go into that a little bit more. Maybe that can form a bond in that way. Or when I said this, they didn't like that. Or because I know a lot of people that I've worked with that can be kind of tone deaf, and that can really cut you out of making money really fast. If someone, like, you can be the best performer, but if they don't like talking to you, if they don't like working with you, they'll easily call someone else next time. It will be no issue for them. So
yeah. So this is a good question here. This is about to be story time. So what I want you guys to do is we're going to go two ways with this. I want you guys to think of a challenge that you guys had to overcome. So some of our students would like some of these stories of the challenges that you guys went through, challenges that you had to overcome. And I think we're going to start with Stephanie with this one. So tell me a challenge that you had to overcome.
In business or just in general?
I'm going to say in business. I can't ask the person since they're anonymous. So if they type something else, I'll let you know. But right now, I'm going to guess that in cultivating your business, tell me, in business, they say, tell me a challenge that you had to go through.
I think in business, one of the, I think an ongoing question that, business owners have is like, how do I generate money? So, especially when we're looking at how quickly things are changing with this pandemic and with things kind of changing so abruptly and so suddenly for a lot of us in the music industry. I mean, it has totally changed like how business is being conducted. So for instance, I do a lot of recording and I can't go into a studio with, other musicians. I do a lot of scoring. So like even having like rehearsals with orchestras, obviously, I don't know how much you guys are hearing about it, but a lot of orchestras are being furloughed now and out of work. So a big challenge for me as a business owner, someone who frequently hires musicians for tours and festival dates and things like that, when all of the live music got shut down, that was the biggest challenge. I would definitely say is like, well, where do we go from here? And a lot of the industry now is going to remote recording. And I'm thankful for, the years that, I was in New York and had to do a lot of remote recording and demo sessions just again, out of necessity. I used good old GarageBand, and I used my laptop microphone because I did not have, you know, a lot of money to buy all this fancy schmancy equipment. And, you know, so I kind of learned how to remote record and how to use some of these programs and some of the recording software. So now I'm in a position to talk to clients, and, you know, I can help other musicians with remote recording setups. I can suggest equipment like microphones, software for recording, things like that, because I can tell you, like, I scored, you know, something for National Geographic here in my living room. So I mean, that's probably the biggest shift that has happened in the course of my career that we're experiencing right now. So,
Yeah. How about you, Dominic? Challenges?
Look, I think one challenge that we had coming out of music school is just branding. Like, what do we want to do, and how does that make us different from our other peers? And I think it kind of helped that I chose to play in a reed quintet, because as opposed to like a string quartet, reed quintet is only about 40 years old, 40, 50 years old. That's how old the ensemble is. And because of that, there's not a lot of music that was written for it already. So one challenge that we had to overcome, and that's why I chose the group, is that we would have to generate our own music. So we ended up being, so between myself and two of the other members in our group, we all arrange all of our own music. So like 90%, I think 90, maybe 95% of the music we play, perform every year, is music that's been arranged by us, for us. And because of that, our own preferences and our own things that we like have been infused into our repertoire. So now when you come to our show, you hear music, because like I'm a big video game nerd. I like movies. You hear a lot of music. You hear a lot of movie music, a lot of video game music. I really enjoy playing music by Black composers. So a lot of the music we play is featuring Black composers. And over the years, that's kind of what we've been known for, is, hey, if you want to hire a group that can play anything across the spectrum, hire that group because they have it. And if they don't have it, they can arrange it and prepare it for you. So I think that's one of our biggest struggles that we've been working with. That's actually been a fun struggle to work with, is just branding and finding where you fit into your landscape.
Excellent. How about you, Dorrell?
I think I got a couple of challenges. I think the hardest part about business that's been challenging for me is you have a great year and then you have to repeat that, you know, and it's not to say that I can't repeat it. It's just the fact of like, am I still passionate about this? I've learned so much that I want to take my mindset and shift it over this way to expand in so many different ways. So I think my challenge overall has been more so learning how to properly expand with people who are passionate on the same level that I am. When you run a business as a sole proprietor and you have contract workers, that's your name on the line. So you got to make sure that, you know, that they, you know, 9 times out of 10, people are requesting me. I can't duplicate myself. So if I can't send me, then it's hard to, you know, send someone else to have that same thing, that same passion. So I think that's been my biggest challenge as far as business, is just making sure that the passion stays there, far as, you know, the consistency that you want to have in your business, and then being able to share that passion with other people, and hopefully they take it at the same, you know, stature and same, you know, creativity that you have. So that's been the hardest thing.
Yeah. If I could add on too, when I heard this question, I remember one of the biggest things has been myself. And the reason why I say myself is because, number one, I'm a people pleaser. So I want to make everybody happy. And then I'm listening to everybody and I'm trying to do all these things. And as you get to this point where you go, I can't make everybody happy. And I have to, and one of the best advices I ever got was actually, thank goodness, in the beginning. I was doing this competition in San Francisco, and the guy looked at me and he said, you have a lot of great ideas, And these great ideas are going to explode and be great, but you cannot do all of them at the same time. You got to start to do them one at a time and put the others on the shelf. And when you're ready to get the other, because like I'm like, no, I could do everything. I got to sleep though. I got to eat. And so therefore, like I would say to our students, making sure that you're happy, making sure that you're doing not everything, but the important things and prioritizing. And not to say, don't do the things that are not going to make you happy. Like I don't enjoy sitting through a budget and looking through every line item, but I know it's important for the development of what we're doing. And I know you might not like practicing scales, but you still have to practice scales because it's important for the development of you. We have another good question here, which is, have you ever had a time, and funny enough, this question has come up 3 times. Have you ever had a time where you almost gave up on your business because it was falling apart? What kept you motivated? So there's different variations of this question, but essentially, did you want to give up? And why did you not give up? Who started last time? Was it Stephanie? I think we're on Dominque. You get to start this time?
So I think, I don't know, maybe it's like self-deprecating behavior. I think I constantly question what I'm doing. I'm like, do I really want to do this? When I have a week before the concert and someone cancels, or like the venue changes, or funding changes, I'm like, do I really want to deal with this again? I think the thing that keeps me coming back is that I remember that generally it's like when the concert happens and I see all the people that are like affected by what we do is one of the many ways that helps me keep going, but also just the love and joy of like the work itself. I really love playing chamber music, and I really love playing music with my friends. And I think at the end of the day, as long as you're doing, I think we said this before, as long as you're doing what you love, that can really propel you to keep the momentum forward, I think. But, yeah.
Dorrell?
I think the biggest thing that keeps me going, because I, just like Dom, I'll be questioning myself, like, I could just get a regular job. Like, I know I can get a regular job. I make a lot of money just doing regular stuff and cut my mind off from thinking about everything else. But I'm a firm believer that we all are here for a certain purpose. And that's what I live by, like purpose. My purpose is bigger than just, the right now. And the right now might not feel good, but overall, I know that I'm in the right, and I'm in the right spot when the results touch your heart as opposed to touch just your bank account. I got a message the other day on Facebook how like, I know we're going through this Black Lives Matter and all of these different pandemics and all of this type of stuff. And I just had a client, I didn't break down, but I was so frustrated because I did a wedding and I had a client that made me drive like 2 hours out. And we went to the small little house and it was just them. And I spent time with them. I enjoyed them. And then she wrote me this comment that was like, yo, you don't pay attention to detail. You don't this, you don't that, you don't that. And I was like, yo, I broke my back for you. Like I did everything you guys asked for. And then I got another comment from one other client that was just like, you is so amazing. I can't believe that, like we didn't have you for everything. You were so good. I even put you in our photo book with our selfie that we took. And that was just like everything for me. It was just like, it went from night to day, so those things right there is, is everything. And I think purpose is like, you're in the right spot when you're doing what what your heart loves. So.
I can say, Dorrell, you pay attention to detail. You catch details I don't even catch. Moments that I don't even see. So yeah.
Thank you. She was wrong. Thank you.
Stephanie?
Yeah, there's definitely been multiple times where I can get a regular job is a real conversation, real regular. Because it's like, why am I doing this again? Like, why am I stressing myself out? This is crazy. I'm crazy. But yeah, so yes, there's definitely been many, many times that I felt like I wanted to quit. I think a real tangible time was when I just really felt like I really was not earning enough where I felt like I was like really able to sustain myself and pay my bills, like literally just the whole breaking even thing. And, you know, I was like talking to my parents about it, and my parents have always been, you know, very conservative in their thinking in terms of like, you need health insurance, you need benefits, you need this, so you need to get a regular job, you need, you know. And you know, it was frustrating for me because, you know, yes, on one hand it's like, yes, I do have skills that would allow me to apply and get like, you know, a traditional salaried job, you know. And so I had to really rethink that. And actually, I don't know like how much you listen to that bio, because I wasn't listening to it, but I was working for the Sphinx organization. And so when they reached out to me to be the artistic director or director of artist development, I kind of put String Candy on the back burner because I was like, okay, this will be my shot to continue working in the music sector. Sphinx is a huge nonprofit organization. I was literally running the Sphinx competition. I was booking artists. So, I mean, I was kind of doing what I was already doing for my company for a much larger organization with like multi-million dollar budgets. So, you know, I was like, well, if this is going to be my shot at, you know, doing the real job, the regular job thing, I did that. And it was great. I love the Sphinx organization, but eventually I had to have a real conversation with the artistic director, Afa Dworkin, and, you know, just like really assessing what they needed and what I needed to be fulfilled in my position. And so ultimately, like I resigned from that position and moved back to LA and continued working with String Candy. And then that's when I started the Recollective Orchestra. So I think when you're really thinking about something that you're really passionate about and that you're really, really good at, kind of like what Dorrell was saying, you're going to start hearing feedback from people that you're working with that is going to really, truly validate and confirm that you're in the right place doing the right thing.
Yeah, thank you guys for that. And to all the students watching, I hope you guys are hearing that all days are not rosy and full of sunshine. There are going to be days where you're going to want to give up, you're going to want to quit. But I think the big thing is that perseverance, resilience piece that we talk about all the time, where it's, we got to keep going. We got to keep going. And that's the big thing. Just keep going. Question.
Can I add one more thing?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was also going to say, I think when you're working in fields where, like Stephanie, for example, with the Recollective Orchestra, you work in fields that cater or like work mainly with like Black musicians or minority groups. I feel like, I know, at least I get the feeling where it's like, if I don't do this, then who else is going to do this kind of a thing? Or I feel like it needs to be done and I don't see it being done in the way that it should be, so I'm going to do it. And I like, so with my group, with our focus on Black composers, Black musicians, all that stuff, in Arizona at least, that happens not at all, I think. You look at the symphony lineup of their concert year, it's like, where's the representation? It's like, I think part of me would be like, okay, I wouldn't mind sitting back if there was more of this happening, but there's not. And I feel like someone needs to do it, so I'm going to do it. And you can't just wait around for people to do the things that you feel are important. I don't know. So that's another thing that helps me stay motivated, even when I feel like giving up. Yeah.
Excellent. So,
one last thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Really quick. I like to wake up when I feel like it, and I like to go to sleep when I feel like it. So that's one thing that I don't want to give up. So that's all.
We have a lot of questions here in the Q&A, and we're not going to be able to answer them all. We might need a part 2. But what I want to go into the future questions. So we have a couple of questions that are, what do you want to accomplish in the future? And I'm going to link that with another one. So like something really great that you've accomplished that you're like, I really like this. This is why I do my job. And what do you want to accomplish in the future? And I think Dorrell is starting this one off. So something really great that you have done and you would motivate kids to want to do what you do. And then what do you want to do in the future?
So, like I've spoken before about my camp, my music camp, and I've talked to you about this, Kurt. I want to start a nonprofit. When I hear nonprofit, it's like, I don't fool with it until like I fully understand exactly. But the effect that I have on these kids and just the effect that the kids have had on my life, I've done way bigger things, but just to be able to be a part of something like this has been so amazing. Like I've been able to see kids who was in the streets go off to college. You know, I've been able to watch them grow up. I've been able to just see how they're being impacted just by me coming in and just shooting a little music video with them and helping them write a song. So I just feel like that achievement of being able to be selfless and be, you know, walking in your purpose per se has always been able to, that's been like my biggest achievement to me personally, I feel. So, yeah, that's pretty much.
And then what are you looking forward towards in the future?
So towards in the future, you know, my overall goal with that is to actually, you know, officially make it a nonprofit where I can actually do this around the world, not just in Atlanta. I want to be able to have it here in Phoenix. I want to be able to go back to my hometown, Virginia, and just be able to get back in the music realm where I feel like my fitting is, which is the youth, which is the next level, which is the people that are, I mean, the kids are so influenced by everything that they see. And, you know, like, I guess I say in one of my verses, why is good so wrong and wrong so right? If I stand alone, I'll be all right. And I feel like that's the same, you know, I guess sector that I feel like I stand in as far as this. It's one of those things where like, I could easily be a rapper and be self-glorified, but I feel like the kids is way more worth it because they're just so much more affected by everything that we do. So being able to have that nonprofit and being able to do this around the world and just give these kids the opportunity to see something outside of what they have to be, you know, forced to view, will at least give them the opportunity to have an option. So.
I like it. How about you, Stephanie?
Well, like I'm already kind of in a position of hiring musicians, which is an incredibly powerful position because I work mainly in television and film. And I am a strong believer that visibility is incredibly powerful because if you can't see it, it's really hard to aspire to do something that you can't see, you know? So from the work that I've been doing with, I would say probably more specifically with an entity like the Recollective Orchestra, but I would just say like in a hiring capacity in general, because that applies to both String Candy and to the Recollective Orchestra, is that I really just want to, in the future, I want to put more musicians of color in more visible spaces because I think that people need to see the talent. Seeing is believing. Like, I know that they exist. Kirk knows that they exist. Dorrell knows that they, you know what I mean? But the world at large is still coming to this like magical like realization that there's this talent out here, you know? So that's what I really strive to do is I want to create more opportunities for, you know, musicians of color. And I'm not Black musicians, Latino musicians, Native and Indigenous musicians, people who are underrepresented in the space to be very, very visible. I think it's really, really important to address earning potential because I do not think that it is fair to have these like highly visible, you know, artists and they're not being compensated with like their white counterparts. So I think pay equity is a huge thing that I fight for in my spaces. Being a woman, there's always like, you know, the gender pay equity issue and things like that. So, I mean, really just creating a space of respect, not tolerating harassment or discrimination, and really just using my position to empower artists of color.
Cool. And what's the cool thing that you've done? The coolest thing that you've done?
What's the coolest thing? I didn't know if that was the question. Sorry. The coolest thing that I've done, man.
Or just
God,
one of them. I know there's so many.
to be honest, probably the most memorable would be working on The Lion King with Hans Zimmer and Jon Favreau. I mean, that was, I've known Hans for a few years now, and I met him haphazardly doing a performance on Saturday Night Live with Pharrell. You know, it was like a smaller string group, it was like 16 girls. Pharrell had just come out with his Girl album, and we did a couple of songs. So that's when I actually met him, because he was doing like a fake cameo conductor appearance. And so anyways, we kind of like loosely kept in touch. And then when we did the Recollective with Matt Jones, shout out to Matt. If you guys do not know him, you need to look him up. He is a dope arranger, young Black guy doing his thing. His arrangements are incredible. He's literally like a young Quincy Jones, like no joke. So when he reached out and wanted to do the cover of Black Panther for the title track, All the Stars, we literally put that together in 3 days. And Matt was living in Chicago. I was living in Detroit because I was working at Sphinx at the time. I was like, look, you think you can write this chart? If you can score this thing, I will get the musicians, we'll lock down the studio in New York, and we'll record it. That thing went viral, and Hans saw it. And from that project, he reached out to us to take a meeting with him. And that's when he was like, I'm getting you guys on The Lion King. I like, to be honest, it was just like such a surreal thing. What do you say? I mean,
Let me talk to my people.
That was really an incredible opportunity. And we were able to, out of an orchestra of about 100 people, 50 of them were Black. That's never been done in Hollywood before, ever.
Wow.
On a major blockbuster film.
Yeah. And Dominque?
So I think for me, like what I enjoy the most, I think I said it before, is just like fostering community, building communities. So I think one of the most successful instances of that was my group's most recent concerts we put on right before the COVID hit. It was so every year we do a at least one Black History concert. This past year we collaborated with more artists to do a concert called Speak, where we collaborated with spoken word artists and visual artists, all of whom were like local Black artists, and we did a concert that way. And that was probably one of the most fulfilling concerts we've ever done. We did I arranged an aria from an opera about Malcolm X that we performed with the vocal professor from one of the vocal professors from ASU. That was very powerful to hear. We did a piece by composer Shelley Washington about catcalling and rape culture, and it was just great seeing all these different types of the Black experience, because I think often in the art world and in life in general, we're seen as like a monolith of all having the same views. So I really enjoyed the chance to say, hey, here's a program of all Black artists, but all these views are so drastically different. And then at the end of the concert, we came together and we kind of talked about, we had like an open discussion kind of like this with some of the artists and some of the local people that do stuff like that. And it was such a great, warm environment and experience. So I'm excited to do more of that in the future. And I think also, so looking ahead to what I want to do more is really seeing how I can further the goal of bringing together the local community. Because my family is from Chicago, where there's like as you know, there's a larger Black Black culture there, but here it's kind of more spread out, kind of a little bit more distant, but people are still here. So I think one thing that I enjoy is just finding ways to bring people together, and it's been really great seeing in the past couple of years the diversity that's been happening from like the university level. Some of the hires that have been happening have been really great, and that in turn is inspiring more people of color to come into the classical music program or the music program. And I think my plan going forward is to find ways where we can stay connected so people have a space because even though they're coming, they're still, even though Black people are coming, even though people of color are coming, they're still the minority in the classical music world here. But I think I want to find a way to make spaces where we can come together and we can have a place where we can all speak to each other candidly and know that they're not alone, even though they're still outnumbered. But yeah.
I hear that. Well, I'd like to thank you guys once again. Can I get a couple of claps for our panelists today, Sounds Academy family? Thank you guys so much for spending an hour with us. I am going to put our survey, so please fill out our survey. Let us know what you liked, what we should keep on doing, things of that nature. And then, of course, we're going to be having our next one on Thursday. And with Thursday, we're going to be talking to Devron, who does video games. So he actually works with video games. Nina, who works with SRP, and Ilya, who works with the city of Mesa. So these are individuals that did music. And today what we talked about were people that did music and used their music to create a business. Next time, we're going to be talking about people that did music, but then did something else. And you get to find out how much they still do with music as well. So 2 claps for Dominque, Stephanie, and Dorrell again. Thank you guys so much. And thank you guys for tuning in. And I will see you guys on Thursday. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having us.